Hi everyone, Amy here with Paper Therapy. Welcome back to my channel. Thanks for stopping by. I just wanted to share with you these pictures of my son's grade 9 graduation and how I scrapbooked them. I've got them mounted here on a black mat and I'm going to pattern some of my own paper to go with the layout since I don't have a whole lot of school themed or graduation themed paper anymore. I'm using a stamp set that is no longer available to pattern this paper, but any kind of little icons or stamps work. So the best way to start patterning your own piece of paper is to add your largest image first. Mine are all kind of the same size other than the words being long and narrow. So I have the word graduate and one other little phrase. And I use what I would call a Bricklay method, meaning I'd stamp it twice. And here's the other piece of paper that I found in my stash. It is not close to my heart. My Bricklay method is that I stamp it twice beside each other with a gap and then go underneath in between. And then twice on either side and then like underneath and keep going that way down. So now in between. And just continue down the page so that they're dispersed kind of evenly. And make sure you go off the edge of the page with some of your images because that's what it really makes it look like patterned paper, because you would normally cut through some of the images. I found that there was a point when my paper looked really good and I might have went a little farther than that point. Isn't that something that happens a lot when you're scrapbooking? Anyways, so I kind of regret adding a little too much, but that's just the way it turned out. Right now, we're still having a Stamptacular. I almost forgot the name. The Stamptacular sale is still on for a couple more days until the end of June. And you can get the other stamp set I use in this paper pack. It looks like a library card, and I believe it's called date stamp, but I will link it in the description of this video so that you can order it. It comes with thin cuts, which I chose not to buy this time. I'm on a bit of a budget this summer, going on some holidays that we want to save our money for. So I thought I can cut my own card out, and I'll show you how I did that in a couple minutes here. So here's my other little phrase. It is the words "you are loved" over and over. I stamped it everywhere. And here, when I add the light bulb back in a minute, you're going to see when I feel like I went a little overboard and I wished I hadn't done that. But that's okay. It's partly covered up, so I'm just going to work with it the way it is. This was actually a COVID graduation, and when we told the vice principal who was speaking, just for our family, we were allowed a certain number of people there and everybody had a 15-minute time slot. We told him that our dog was in the vehicle. He said, well, go get him. I think it would be neat if he would be at your grad. So he brought him into the gym there, and we had him on our family picture. He sat on a chair. It was really cute. And that dog has now passed away, so it's kind of special to us to remember this now. I also inked the edges of this paper. I found it really finishes off the paper and it really enhances the look of it as a piece of patterned paper. I'm using charcoal ink and I was using intense black to do the patterned part. You can use all different colors, but I was just kind of going for making the cardstock look a little more interesting, and I didn't want to play with too many colors. I also inked around the other piece of paper that has kind of a geometry pattern on it, and I ended up doing some splatters with the cracked Sapphire, I believe it's called, Tim Holtz oxide ink. I used a water brush to make some watery ink in the lid. And usually I just squish the stamp pad, but that wasn't really working for me this time, so I just gathered some up on the brush. And I'll link the water brushes. They're like a little pen paintbrush, and I tapped on it, and I also later on just kind of shook it over to get some darker, bigger splotches. And I thought it went real well with the school theme to have like ink blotches on the pattern piece of paper. Just trying to dry it off a little bit there. Here we have the date stamp. So I cut a piece of paper that is the exact right size of the library card there. I believe it's 2 3/4 by 4 3/4. It might be 5 3/4. I can write that down in the description. And then I just stamped the card. I rounded the corners and then stamped the card design on there, so I didn't even need the thin cut. I was able to. The thin cut's neat though, because you get the pocket too, like we had in the old timey library cards. Does anybody else remember when you were a little kid and the librarian had a stamp on their pen? I was obsessed with that stamp. I wanted to be a librarian someday so I could have a stamp on my pen. That was pretty cool. So these stamps are similar to the stamp the librarian had, and I'm just putting June, Jun, the shortened version of June 2021. So I'm just using the day numbers of 20 and 21. And I don't usually do the date. I just do like the exact date. I just do June 2021. That's good enough for me. And I'm putting the word remember, and it does say author and title on the top of this card, but I was just ignoring that and putting my date and that remember phrase in, and then later on I'll use the spot where they would put the person's name and the date to just write a little bit of journaling about how it was a COVID grad and it was just our family that was there. It was too bad for him that he couldn't have a big grad, but then on the flip side, it's kind of a neat little memory to have a COVID grad like that with your doggy there and just your immediate family. So now I'm bringing in my Sapphire cardstock and an extra matting, which I'm inking the bright white. I like to see that little bit of fade toward the outside. Struggle a little bit with my tape runner that's falling apart. Don't know why it's doing that. And yeah, I'm going to put this in the center, and then I'm going to bring in my patterned papers underneath there. I tuck the geometry style paper underneath. It is not a close to my heart pattern. It's from my stash. I have no idea where it came from, but then when I realize that I'm covering some of it up, I decide I'm going to slice that piece off and tuck it on the other side so it looks like it's going all the way underneath, which is always kind of neat. Just like this. So I've got my pattern papers going here, and then putting the photos on top. The school colors are black and purple, but I went with Sapphire here because I used purple as a theme for my other son's grad from this school. So I decided, I'm gonna change it up. I'm gonna go with his shirt color. It's close enough to the balloon colors in the photo, in my opinion. I'm also bringing in some Sapphire glitter stars that I had cut for another project and hadn't used. So now I'm just working on my arrangement of embellishments and the library card, deciding where I'm going to put my title, which, by the way, I had bought our oldest son. So this was last year, but this year our oldest son graduated from grade 12. So I had bought a bunch of graduation stickers in order to make some cards for his friends. And these were the leftovers. I decided to use graduation day as a title because I just thought it was perfect little title, and it was ready made, and I could just stick it on there. So it's just from a local shop in town. I had bought one little sticker sheet of grad words. Later on, I used the word success, I think, and I used class of. So those all came from that sticker sheet that I brought in. Just finagling here to get it exactly right. Always kind of tricky to get things perfectly straight. I do bring in a ruler here, and I needed to get myself a T-square ruler, but I just used the grid in the background and put the ruler across in order to get my title and everything straight at the end. And I end up putting the title here. I'm just going to decide where to put it. And I end up putting it at the bottom of my library card there. And I really like it there because it becomes kind of a title cluster. And I end up with 2 clusters rather than 3, which I'm quite happy with. Just kind of one on each corner looking across. I think it draws the eye quite nicely. I feel like arranging the embellishments and everything at the end is the most fun part of making a scrapbook layout, but it can be the most time consuming as well if you keep rearranging and become indecisive. If you never use pop-up tape, you should really get some. These stickers were actually, they came popped up, but I find the dimension that it adds to the page without too much weight or bulk is just so nice. I like the real shadow behind instead of just trying to create that shadow with artwork all the time, but you actually can see that they're lifted up from the page, and I really enjoy how that looks. I'm a big fan of pop tape. Just gluing a few pieces down, getting things the way I want them to be, and going to add some little stars that are from Close to My Heart but no longer available. Always fun to have a few embellishments in your stash. Then I came up. I was just looking around my craft room, and there was a few of these Picture My Life cards that I haven't used up yet from, I don't even remember. They're from a blue paper pack. I'm sure some of the people out there will know where they're from. Anyways, they matched, and I decided to put a banner behind the graduation day just to kind of bring out that family picture and the title a little bit more. Here comes the ruler, and I just used the grid in the background, but definitely think a T-square ruler would be nice to have. So I'll be looking on Amazon for one of those since we don't sell them. Just taking a look at my project there and seeing how I like that paper in the background, and I really like that, so I'm just gonna glue it down in place, make sure it's nice and straight. Oh, here comes the ruler again. I do like how it kind of mirrors the graduation day. I just really think it brings the title out, it brings your eye across to the title, and I guess it gives this a bit of a visual triangle, even though I don't add anything else except for that little flag there. So here's the class of sticker, which is going to end up there, and I stamp 2021 on it. I believe my camera just quit recording on me at some point, but I ended up adding a few glitter gems and a few different types of stars that I had in my stash, and added a bit more ink splattering on the library card and the geometry paper. So that is how the layout turned out. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you'll subscribe to my channel and hit like. Thanks for watching and spending this time with me, and take advantage of that stamp sale if you can. See you on the flip side.